Hi there.
How are you?
You are live, Amanda.
All right. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties.
No, it's totally okay. And I want to make sure that I get us all sorted out here so that anybody who's joining us, hi, pretty lady.
No, to you.
Well, so first of all, tell me what your technical difficulties were, because I'm sure other people who try to join in from time to time can benefit. Tell them what you did, because you were crafty and clever. How did you solve your challenge on the other end?
I called my husband to come in and Chrome into my computer. I thought that was optional, but apparently it's not. So we quickly got Chrome downloaded and he installed it for me quickly. So it works. I wish I could say I was crafty, but no.
Well, you were crafty. You had your resident IT.
Yeah. A quick phone. Help!
Hello, husband IT director. So I see that it is working, by the way, on Facebook, and I always like to just make sure that that's going on. So if anybody is watching this yet, it's hard to know so far, but Amanda and I first met, but we've never actually been in a room together.
No.
No. So we met through doing some work with the David Lynch Foundation, introduced through our good friend, Jason Rothberg. I'll do a little shout out. Hi, Jason Rothberg. Hi, David Lynch Foundation. And that was a really fun project. We met a lot of great people. Jason pulled together an amazing team of smarty pantses like you. And so we've recently reconnected after stalking each other sufficiently on Facebook and everywhere else all this time, but we rarely have a chance to connect. And if you are just joining how this all happened, I've been doing a series of hashtag Monday Motivation on my business Facebook page on Karen Cook's Modern Marketing. And you chimed in to last week's or this past Monday's about the idea of having to look outside your particular business space, whatever that is. In your case, you are an expert radio promoter and marketer, and I'd like for you to tell everybody exactly what that all means. But you had a really visceral response. You were like, "Oh my God, yes!" And then my friend Krista, hello Krista, a little shout out to you. She also chimed in, and there were some other people through the back channels who expressed this kind of wonder that people don't actually do that. We don't look outside the spaces that we've become comfortable in as professionals to reactivate our creative energy, just bring a fresh perspective to what we're already doing, whether or not you use that new information or not, just something to get you out of the thing that you always do because it's the thing that always has been done. And my question is always like, but why?
But why? And that is why we are in the creative world of business when we're marketing people. So
we're saying that the creative world of business.
Yes.
So let's take a step back. Tell the folks at home, Amanda, tell them what you do.
Well, my background is heavily radio. I've been involved with radio promotion for, oh gosh, it's probably close to 25 years now.
You started when you were like 4.
Yeah, thank you. But at heart, and the reason I got into this was I'm really a marketing person and always have been since I was a small child. And it just naturally, from the time I was doing babysitting jobs, writing, flyers to get jobs and whatnot. So it's followed me along, and I've always very much enjoyed it. And I started with radio very early. And as I was going through college, I ended up in marketing. And marketing was, I always considered myself a marketing person more so than music business. But obviously now I could go both ways. But there's always something missing. And as a radio promoter, it was very frustrating when I would get projects in the door. And we're trained as a radio promoter to look at stuff and have to accept what is. Look at the artwork. Oh no, what do we do? We accept it based on music, but then we get the singles in the mail. We look at them, we're like, oh, what are we going to do about this? So the premise of me starting this company, Music Promotion Inc., was to get in earlier and help get those problems solved before they happen, which are so common in this world. And so
problem solving.
Yes, problem solving. And then taking it a step further, because, you know, a lot of, in my world of music, you know, a lot of these artists are just throwing out music, doing the same old thing, and can't understand why they're not getting different results. And so really we have to go in deeper. We have to look at all the elements of the project and, you know, really look at those competitive advantages, whether it be somebody's really good at live shows or somebody isn't so good at live shows, but they're really great in the production room. You know, how do we take advantage of that over time? And right now everyone's kind of on this thing where it's, okay, we're going to release this record right after we're done recording it. They're not putting together a strategy. We're going to go put it out on Spotify. We're going to go put it out on all this stuff. We're going to put it on iTunes. And then, you know, it's out for a week or two, and then they're kind of like, okay, now what? There's no, it's so common that there's really nothing else after that. And we're really, you should be busy for a good 6 months, you know, well, depending if you're talking album or single, but, you know, with a single, at least 4 months. I mean, even at the independent level, and you could really drag it on longer if you, you know, up to a year or plus, depending on how well it does. But a lot of people aren't thinking of this going into it. So my job, and what we were talking about, was looking outside of where we are comfortable, is getting other ideas, whether it be from other brands, whether it be from, I started, you know, going to just local American Marketing Association meetings. Anything like that can be brought into what we think is a set mold in the music business.
Right,
So-
right. That can be said in any business. It's interesting. You hear that feedback?
A little bit.
A little bit. I don't know where that's coming from because I don't have anything else playing at the moment. That can be said though for any business, really. And I've been reading Sandy Carter's. Here, I'll put up this this little agenda item right here. I don't know if you can see it yet. Hold on. Anyway, I've been reading Sandy Carter's Extreme Innovation. And just for the folks at home, actually I devoured it, but it's one of those things where I kind of wanted to read it all over again. Hi, Sandy Carter, it's a plug, Extreme Innovation. But there, I mean, it's already becoming dog-eared, and I only bought it a couple of weeks ago at Social Media Marketing World. And the reason that I'm loving it so much is, you know, we're talking about fresh ideas and to some extent innovation, right? So how are you innovating for, in your case, those artists? You know, but there's a difference also between innovating and iterating, right? So you're off looking for fresh ways, innovative, new approaches to the same old dog and pony, but then you get to the iteration part, right? So how are you iterating, right? So you've already shared, you've gone to American Marketing's, you know, AMA meetings, and, you know, you're pulling from different places. So how do you iterate once you get through that whole first cycle where now it's on Spotify and it's here and there? How do you combat the objections that I am confident you're hearing?
Well, you know, in some cases, there's legitimate reasons to do what they're doing. And you know, I always say to my clients, okay, this is why, you know, and then they usually have a rebuttal. And in some cases, the rebuttals aren't that great. And in some cases they are. And so, you know, we really have to take it on a case-to-case basis, because what's best for one may not be best for the other one. But this goes back even further. And this is where, when you look at what I'm writing on Facebook, I'm trying to get people to be more innovative. Look at also how they're approaching the music. And I'm going to use my husband as a really good example, because, not just because he's my husband, but, you know, he went and did this project where, it was very unique, and it got attention because it was very unique. They only released vinyl. He redid a Plato's Allegory of the Cave, and redo it. But he did. He speaks Greek and reads Greek, and he did a translation, a loose translation, his version, and had John Malkovich read over the music, this Allegory of the Cave, and it was done.
I want that.
it was really, really interesting, actually. And then they had all the artists. They had everyone from Yoko Ono to Dweezil Zappa to all these name artists really liked it and did these versions. And they put it on this double vinyl and got it out. And it got so much attention. It was very unique. It was very well done. And it was an approach where he's so good at telling story with just music. He's a composer, he's a writer, and was able to really bring in these other elements. And those are really challenging projects on my side, but they're also very rewarding because it really hasn't been done before. And there are other ones. We had a band this year called White Sun that we were promoting, and they did something, I mean, along the same lines, but very different. We just met, in the fall. So, but they did Indian Mantras. That was, and they ended up winning a Grammy for the
best. I saw that on your Twitter.
Yeah, and there's all these really interesting concepts that can come with music rather than just go in there and do the okay or with everybody else. And in the case with my husband's project, they also brought in the images. They brought in Sandra Miller, who is a very famous photographer who did this amazing artwork. So they made it. So they had film sections with this. They had music sections. They had the images and the photography. So you bring in all these aspects, and it really opened up all these other doors into all these other nooks and crannies all around. Mm-hmm. And I think when you work with projects that are there's so many layers to them, they're rare. And I think people are just so focused on one aspect that they're not looking at the big picture, or they want to, or maybe they're limited in other ways. But if you can really, and trust me, it took, when my husband told me about this, I was like, well, what are you doing? I don't get it, but it really took an artistic view of this and said, this is what it's doing. And finally, when it was done, you kind of get it. Like, okay, so that's really on the artist side. And then as a marketing person, we have to, really grasp onto that concept and make sure everybody else understands it.
Right. Your job at that point is to communicate not just the interesting new features and layers as benefits to this whole project, but the actual story. I mean, and find their audience. It all is actually part of the story.
Yes, and again, that brings in all the PR. So you get the bigger name publications when you have a good story. And it's a very difficult thing when you've got records that don't fit the mold, and it takes a lot of work. And I think a lot of people start to get to where they get comfortable, so they don't want to get into other.
So let me ask you that. I'm just looking at my phone, not to be rude, but because I'm looking just to make sure if anybody's commenting, we can engage with them. But so my question then is from that experience, because that's a whole new kind of category.
I could spend 24/7 only on that one project and still not have enough time in the day.
I'm sure. It sounds huge, but I guess if we had to if you had to distill it down, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if there were a process then that you could say, look, this was a new thing, and we had no prior kind of experience about how to bring this to life. But now you've done that. So if you found yourself in a scenario where you went, gosh, this is kind of more of a traditional project, right? Now we're in a more traditional artist, and we're going to market more traditionally. And then you go, wait, we don't have to do it more traditionally. What, do you know what I mean? Like, where could you borrow from this new experience that took you out to the edge and kind of systemize it without making it sterile, but, just put a process in place?
Part of that goes into what I do with radio promotion, where that is more processed. We have somebody that has a single, they want to get it to radio. That's very, I wouldn't say cut and dry, because there is some individuality there and things we have to focus on, but it is much more a process where and I do consulting, so when I come on a consulting basis or a strategic side of things, there isn't as much automated. I've tried, I do use some information management type stuff online, where when we have these massive teams similar to what we had with the David Lynch and with Jason Rothberg, you've got so many people in so many different areas of the world in some cases, all doing their own thing. And somehow you've got to know what so-and-so is doing. So A, you're not duplicating it or stepping on toes, or you can take advantage of what they are doing. So we've had to develop things and ways that and they're not that complicated, but nobody was really using them when we started this. And so that's been a challenge.
I want to share this with you because that actually really resonates with me. Going back to Sandy's book, I had pulled it out this morning, knowing that we were going to be talking about all this, but there's different things that pop out every time you pick up a book that you really value. And to me, when I just heard you say that, it was this phrase: innovation is a form of empathy. And I'll just read this to you real quickly. For innovation to be real in your culture, it needs to be built on a foundation of the basics: people, process, and continually upgrading technology. So in that case where you and I first met, and we didn't have the technology tools to help bring it together more seamlessly. That was a hindrance, but the empathy piece of it, innovation is a form of empathy. For innovation to be real in your culture, it needs to be built on a foundation of basics. And the first thing is people. I mean, now we go right back full circle to, if we're talking about building social businesses, mm-hmm. It's people first. It's not technology first. It's people first.
Well, we have to direct the technology into what we needed to do. And so we have to cater to this need of in this case, which I love using this as an example, we had, 32 artists in, I believe it was 20 some countries, all touring, all doing all of their same things, or all of their own thing at the same time. And then I was handling radio. And so we had all these countries, and then we were watching whichever band it was touring, following their tours and making sure that we were supporting everything that we had to support. And it gives you a headache thinking about it, but it was one of the most challenging and really one of the most rewarding projects.
Well, there's a lot of moving. One of the things that we were talking about offline, based on that hashtag Monday Motivation and how this all got started, was borrowing from past experiences. So you just touched on that as well. One of my I had sort of two personal favorite experiences of pulling from past projects and past sort of professional chapters to inform a new chapter. And, in ways that you never think, oh, I'll ever use that again. That was whatever that was.
But we're out there digging it up in 6 months. What was that?
But even longer ago than that. So I can't remember if you know this, but I had an e-commerce business, and it was in a sector that is, I sort of alluded to this in the post on Monday, traditionally considered a little bit naughty and a little bit skanky, if we can say that. It was, the name of the company was Boudoir Essentials. Okay. The key here was, how would I address my primary audience? I figured I had like 3 or 4 avatars that I was probably going to be serving, but one primarily, and that was women. Funny enough, almost 50% of my audience in that business, of my customer base, were men, because it turns out that people just really want to be respected. They don't really want to be treated like, anyway, like everything that the old way of marketing that particular kind of product line is perceived to be. So I actually looked and went, well, if women are my primary audience, and women, and women who are normal, everyday women, we're not talking about people who find themselves in adult films. Not that they're not normal. You know what I'm saying, though? It's like, you, my friends down the street, everybody, right? And it was funny because I thought, well, what do we all have in common? And then I started to test. It's like, we all like cosmetics, we all like, going out to nice dinners, and we appreciate the way we're being marketed to in those particular sectors. Where can I borrow from? And once I latched onto that, it really informed the design direction. So then I could go to my web developer and say, here's what I absolutely am not interested in at all. Here's what I am interested in. And then what I also did is there was a product that was already being marketed, I thought, in a very girly kind of really palatable luxury, believe it or not, sort of way. Pink satin and Swarovski crystals and things. I went, yes, right. Those are things we all can wrap our heads around. And I said, this e-commerce business must always be a home for that product. And it became kind of my own guidepost, you know, and anytime I would look at something, whether it was copy that I was writing or it was, you know, a manufacturer or a vendor was coming to me with something, if it didn't align with what I thought that original product would evoke, it was not going to be part of it. There it was.
So you had your brand. Yeah, you knew what your brand should be.
But I had to look outside that traditional business. I mean, there were reasons why I had to, but it was such a great lesson because it makes it just validates that process is important, even if you don't have to go to extremes, even if it's just to kick off the cobwebs, as we've been talking about, just get the juices flowing. Just think, is there some other thing that I could be looking at here?
Exactly. And there are going to be times where you start down the wrong road, and you have to be able to see that, pull it back and restart things. And, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you have to fail very quickly and be willing to do that.
You have to fail, and you have to be flexible to change direction fairly quickly. And that's where I think companies like yours and mine, where we're smaller and we are more flexible, that we can change gears very quickly, where you can see a problem very quickly. There's been issues where we had a project where, I probably shouldn't talk about that because I probably should keep it. There's been issues where we can start, it went through so many layers before it got to me. And I took a look at it and I said, this doesn't make sense. We need to change this. And I brought it up on a call and people say, yeah, we're right. And one, you can't be afraid to speak out. And number two, you have to be able to.
That's a whole different Facebook Live.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, they'd already had all the graphics and everything done. I made them redo them, but it ended up being a good thing. Thank goodness. But, you've got to be able to be quick, and you've got to be able to be flexible, and you've got to be able to have some sort of indicators, which is very difficult in the music business. And one of the main things about, is you got to have a goal. A goal, let's say a 6-month goal. What are we trying to accomplish here? And then you kind of work backwards on all of this. And then you are looking for, other inspiration and other things to get you motivated and excited. And that's the other thing. I think enthusiasm, you have to be enthusiastic about a project to where you are constantly thinking about it. So when you see something outside, you can apply it in there and you're connecting the dots.
100%. I want to share something else with you. This is some very early on in Extreme Innovation, or just some key terms. And actually the key terms were outlined. There's 3 of them were outlined by Brian Solis, who, funny enough, I don't know if you could see it, but there it is. I have his book right there. Anyway, When Business Meets Design, the experience. And it's, again, it's very much about innovation. So he's quoted in this book. And so 3 things. 1, iteration, doing the same things better. Okay. Secondly, innovation is doing new things that introduce new value. So if people are looking for reasons to innovate, not just for the sake of innovation, we're going to innovate. No, you're innovating for a reason. What does that actually mean to your business, regardless of whether you're a solopreneur or you are a long-established business and just looking to evolve, to continue growth and evolution. But I love that. Innovation is doing new things that introduce new value. Otherwise, there's no...
You're wasting your time.
Yeah, that's just saying, we can do this. And then...
We'll try, and it doesn't work, so we go back and we redo it or do it again.
Right.
And certainly I've done that where, we'll start focusing on something and we'll say, we've done this, hasn't really changed our world. Let's kind of move on to the next thing.
Yeah. that's also, I mean, that's, I think what my clients, and I'm sure yours also, I think appreciate that if we try something, and everybody's on board, you know, then it's up to me and my team to look at it, figure out if we're not meeting expectations that we've set for ourselves, why aren't we? Let's get in there and massage that. Let's change it up. But if after a period of time, it looks like it's really not going to be worth additional resources, whether they're time or financial, doesn't really matter. Pull it and be able to say, we tried this. Thanks for playing along. And it's not working. I'm going to waste your time with it.
Exactly. And I've had artists, bands, clients, whatever, do well on one particular thing, and then other ones not, because there's so many moving parts that it's hard to predict which ones are going to benefit all the time from one particular, idea. So we'll just see what happens, you know. In some cases, I mean, we can make educated guesses on the most part, but I think the important
that's
part
also
to
based
take
on
out
experience. But the educated guesses are also based on experience.
Absolutely, and that's where you have to be innovative and you have to be creative with this stuff, because if you do the same thing that everyone else is doing, you're lost in the sea of everything. Whether it be a pair of shoes or a band or whatever it is you're marketing, it has to be unique.
Right.
So,
got to tell the story. We are just coming up on some time, and you know, I like to keep these things kind of short and to the point. And I think, tell me what you think, Amanda. I think that this was fun to do, like a live follow-up to a Monday Motivation.
Fun.
Do you think
it is fun.
Regular? Should I make that a thing?
Sure.
Should I make it? I think I'm going to make it a thing.
Yeah, why not?
I think I'm going to make it a thing. So thank you to you for hopping on and calling your IT person to your IT person to come and install Chrome, and just for your time. And I love that, you know, we can come together and, you know, share some good.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me very much.
Oh, please. So if anybody's interested, listen, I've got a lot of people out there who are always saying, hey, do you work with artists? And I don't really, because there's Amanda. There are Amandas out there who work with artists and they do it really well. So you can contact her at Music Promotion Inc. I'll put that in the comments of this here live video. You should find her there, unless there's somewhere else, Amanda?
Just my website, www.musicpromotion.com. So you can find me, just hit contact or submit music and it comes to me. So I find it.
There you go. And we've also been talking recently about collaborating where there's a need, because sometimes our worlds do intersect, as you know. So there's that. And you all know where to find me, Karen at KarenCooks.com. And that is it for now. That is Modern Marketing Live. Finger snaps. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.